Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another construction roundup meeting. And give me just a second. We're approving some other AI tools to record this meeting here. But anyway, thanks for joining and taking the time to get in here and talk about some of these issues. We have several topics to go over today, and just want to say a majority of those topics came in from the district. So we appreciate you all being proactive and being engaged and sending stuff in for us to talk about. It makes it easier for us, and also we want to make sure that we're handling stuff that you guys really need discussed in a forum like this, and so we appreciate that. As always, you're welcome to drop questions in the chat, and our team will try to answer those as we go or bring it up live if it's something that we need to talk about with everyone. But we really like that format as well because everybody can read those answers. And even in the chat, we're getting a lot of stuff solved that needs to be solved. So we appreciate that as well. With those words, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brian, and he's going to kick us off.
Good morning, everybody. So our topics we have to discuss today, it looks like we're getting a little more granular as we go. And that's kind of the intention of this webinar, is that we started with great big broad ideas and broad topics. And as we refine those and work our way through this system, I think this venue is doing its job, right? It's getting the information out there and opening that communication channel. And you'll start to see things. Hopefully, these topics will, become fewer and fewer as we get the correct information in the hands of the people that need it. So, I just want to welcome everybody again, and we reiterate what was told to us yesterday at the Chief's Office of Engineering staff meeting, is that we are under new management. We have a new secretary, and we have a new assistant deputy secretary. Mr. Glenn Leday, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Eric Dauphiné. So we'd like to welcome them and to DOTD, and anything that construction can do and we can do to make this work and be better, a better place to work and a better place to move forward. That's what we're going to do. So we've got our initiatives in place. We've got our marching orders, and we're going to go about the business of doing our day-to-day operations and do what we do best. So without any further ado, we're going to talk about adverse weather today, some DocuSign updates. We have a new project progress update form in HeadLight. We've got a couple of questions on Asphalt, and our daily work reports for traffic controls. Prompt payments is our last issue. So we're going to open that up and get started. Again, if you have any questions, put those in the chat, and we'll get started with adverse weather.
All right. That's my cue. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully everyone got the construction memo last Thursday. This is what went out, at least internally. I did not have the emails for our external folks, but for the consultants that are on right now, this is just a clarification of how we have been doing the adverse weather day calculation. It's supposed to be a prorated version for each month if we ended up giving days back. So I think the original spec said at the beginning and the end, if it wasn't, if we started the project halfway through a month and at the end. But the way it should be done is each month, if there's days that were given back for, say, a holiday, the example I like to use is December. Say, and I know it's not 8 days, I think it's 7, but say there's 8 days just for the, easy math part of this. If there's 8 days of anticipated adverse weather days, if we gave the contractor back a week, from the 24th to the 31st, because a lot of times we don't want any traffic impacted by lane closures, things like that between Christmas and New Year's. So we say, all right, we're giving you back that whole week. Well, now we've gone from, 31 days or roughly, 4 weeks, we've reduced it by a week. So it should be cut by a quarter. So if it was 8 days anticipated, it should now be 6 days anticipated. Does it make sense to kind of double dip and give you the full 8? Plus, it might hurt you if, those adverse days were through the month, through the beginning of the month, and, you weren't actually affected that week we gave you back because that was already days given back. So Just clarification of that, that's what went out last Thursday. It has in there at the very bottom right here, change order is not required to include that special provision, which kind of revamps how we're supposed to be doing that. And yes, it did also change that multiplier from 145 to 14. The 0.05 is just, it adds a bunch of additional decimals out on these calculations and that sort of thing. And it doesn't add that much to it. So that's why the 0.05 was dropped off. But that's the reason. I want to make sure everybody received that, has taken a look. I think most people are utilizing that properly, but just want to make sure we're being consistent across the state in how we give back excess adverse weather days. With that, on to the next topic, which I believe was DocuSign. So that's
DocuSign. Sarah.
So I've been kind of discussing DocuSign with people who call me and giving out instructions on how to set it up. Brandon Newsay put together a DocuSign instructions, and it's pretty good step by step. I tried it out. It seems to work just fine on, and it gives you a step-by-step process of how to utilize the templates that I'm sharing. So I'm going to post this on the internet, and hopefully, if you have questions, I'll send it out. Of course, if you're still having trouble, you can still call me and ask questions. I just want to remind anybody that's the CNI, if your company does not have access to DocuSign, you can just utilize the PDF and send it through email. Or if the coordinator has time, they can put it in DocuSign, but basically just send it through email until it gets to me and I can handle the rest. And that's pretty much it. We'll put that on the internet site when shortly after this meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. Next topic is the progress project update. So we have a new form in HeadLight. It's the project progress update form, and I'll be sending out an email it'll have a quick how-to document, a little short video on how to use it. And this is going to feed into our new project viewer that we've implemented, and it will be required for the project engineer to fill this out at the end of each estimate period. It's some of the instructions at the top of the document I'll go over. It's please consider the following when determining the estimate project completion date: any unprocessed change orders and associated delays, impacts of adverse weather on the construction schedule, planned work stoppages or suspension of activity, the current status of charge days on the project. This estimated date will be used, of course, for reporting project completion to our external facing website. And you'll select the month and the year in this form, click submit, and that's it. And it'll give you an estimated project completion date, month and year. We'll be doing that every 30 days now. We'll implement that July 1st. It will be required after July 1. And it's going to be tied via an API to our project viewer. Garver is working on that now, so it actually will feed into that application. And that will be the new estimated project completion date that everyone will see. This used to be in Site Manager under the projected completion date report. And we also had a report number 34 in our construction reports, district construction status, that we used to do. We kind of got away from filling that out and updating those. And this is just, we're re-upping that application and putting accurate information out there for everybody to see. So if you have any questions about those, you can reach out to us here at headquarters and we can walk you through it. Again, after we get off the webinar today, I'll be sending an email out with all the information for the form, how to, and a little tutorial. If you have any questions, again, get back to us. All right. We had a question come in about minimum patching widths on asphalt. And we found that a couple of the offices are doing minimum 3 feet, 4 feet minimums, different things. We talked it over here at headquarters, and it looks like, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I thought I heard somebody talking. we're going to put together a standard detail and like some information to go into a standard detail on this asphalt patching, so that we're all working, from the same detail, and the contractors know what to expect. There'll be some further information we'll put out at either the next webinar or between now and then on that. Next question, asphalt overrun. I'm going to turn that back over to Matt.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. The asphalt question, hopefully everybody can see this, but we went over this briefly at the Louisiana Transportation Conference. That was our March webinar, so of course there was no videography, that sort of thing that was allowed there, so it's not captured as our normal YouTube webinar page. But we went over this, as far as theoretical versus, actual tickets. How do we, compute that? What's allowed, what's not allowed? And really what we need to do is, each day we should be tracking the yield. There's not a set go by as far as for a mill and overlay job, we should expect this much overrun, or for, new construction, brand new roadway, this much overrun, for just a regular overlay, this much overrun. There's no hard and fast rule for that. Really, each project kind of is different. So what you need to do is you need to be tracking the yield. That's kind of what we went over here, verifying your slope, your depth, your width, making sure everything's correct. So what we want to do is, if we're seeing that we are overrunning our asphalt, we need to try to determine what's the reason for that. If we're getting the proper width, depth, and slope, it might just be an overrun that, yes, we should be paying for. If it's something that, no, we're getting, we're putting too much asphalt down, contractors, we appreciate that, but, we're supposed to be putting down, 2 inches, or, what's within the tolerance. So if it is something that's out of line, we're going too wide, the slope's not correct, and we're making it too flat because we're putting, too much depth in there, you need to notify the contractor, document when they were informed so they can get it corrected. It could be a legitimate reason. Again, if the overage is because we're trying to correct cross slope and we are going a little thicker with a particular lift, or you have a leveling, something like that, that goes back and forth and it's kind of arbitrary. Yes, there might be an overrun there. If you're in a super, obviously, those are kind of difficult. There might be some overages there, but generally speaking, there's not just a unwritten, you're allowed 5% to overrun. So that's for contractors and for PEs. It's not like we just pay overage up to 5%, no questions asked, you can just overrun 5%. There should be reasons for why we are overrunning. So just, as y'all are going throughout the job, that's what we want y'all to do, is to verify these things, make sure what we're paying for is what we're getting, or what we're getting is what we're paying for, vice versa. So this is just, that's just a brief recap of kind of what we talked about at the transportation conference.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
All right.
I did have a text come through to make sure I clarify something on the project progress update. The PE will be reporting that to the month and the year, but when that goes out to our external facing website on the project viewer, that's going to be converted into half years. Initially, I think they talked about putting it in quarters, but then we ended up with half years. So it'll be either early 2025, late 2025, for example. So again, these dates will be fed via on the back end through an API into our HeadLight system. This form is in HeadLight itself, and that will go out and roll out to our outward external facing website for all of our partners, industry, contractors, the public, everyone. So any questions about that, let us know. Next on the list, suggested verbiage for our TC drawings. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Dallas Palmer.
All right, so I believe what this is referencing is the location and site manager where you enter in traffic control information. and there's a location for the PE or the inspector to make notes on traffic control. A lot of offices or some offices simply write CTCS report or TC log from the contractor, and that's that's really not a lot of information, particularly if y'all aren't checking those TC logs that the contractor is doing. If those TC logs are the same every day and your diaries are also referencing simply CTCS report, that that does not put the department in a good position if something were to come up. So I guess we want to reiterate that the PE office is responsible to QA traffic control. They are not the person doing the traffic control. The TCS and the contractor are ultimately responsible, but we do have a responsibility to verify that the traffic control is correct and there's no significant issues on the project. If there are, we're supposed to notify the contractor and get it corrected. If you notice issues, you should document it in the site manager report in that area that talks about traffic control. You should also, once those issues are resolved, note that those issues are resolved. But if we have a whole project that only says CTCS report, or it says road signs, everything looks fine, then if something actually happened on the project, that throws into question the QA that the P office is doing for traffic control. So really, we have some responsibility as a department to make sure traffic control is appropriate, and if there are issues, we're dealing with it and documenting it. So there's a question in the chat. What documentation do we need to have TCS, TCT, CERT revoked? That would be a process that if you're having issues on a project, you would notify us, you notify Brett. Brett would do an inspection. If if we if we go out and notice that there's issues on the project, we try to get those corrected. You should have some documentation of communication to the contractor saying there are issues and documenting that these issues are not being resolved. But if we get far enough down the road where we've notified the contractor, corrections are not being made, then that is one of the authorities that the state has, is to not recognize the TCS as an authorized TCS on state projects. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, they're not correcting like they should, then it should be escalated up to headquarters, and if needed, that would be the route we go. So I guess that's everything I was going to say.
All right, Dallas, appreciate the clarification. There's a few more questions in the chat before we move on about asphalt, bridge projects, roundabout projects. I think the point of the whole conversation was that if they're validated reasons or verifiable reasons for these overruns, and that's documented, that's one thing. It's just this, overrunning the yield and not correcting. That's the issue we're talking about. So as long as it can be documented, it's something that's required. We have a justification for that. So any specific questions we can field on a one-off basis, just let us know.
Also, the HeadLight, has a traffic control observation for use. Yes, it does. The reason why we have y'all tag it is because we're still doing the integration between HeadLight and Site Manager. So that's why we have the tag and we turn that off. Once we are, fully HeadLight, you won't have to tag all those things, so that it goes back into the DWR section the way that they're supposed to. And so, yes, that's where you would probably put your traffic control observations, will be in that observation category, once we fully implement HeadLight and aren't thinking back to site manager. It's strictly, we got to have it in a certain order so that it, pulls back over to site manager correctly.
All right. Looks like our last topic, prompt payments. Turn that over to Matt.
All right. I'm gonna share again. Share a lot. All right. So this particular EDSM about prompt payments, hopefully contractors, subcontractors, PEs, y'all never have to deal with this. This will be a one-off that we talk about this, but it has happened previously. So just kind of go over the prompt payment process, why it's necessary, that sort of thing. There is an EDSM. So as part of the federal requirements that are in most of our contracts, there is that prompt payment provision that says you have to pay your subcontractors within 30 days of receiving payment for the work that they did. So as part of that, compliance previously would hold estimates when they received a prompt payment complaint, and all estimates were held up, from that point on until the subcontractor was paid. So it could be something as simple as, it's a $10,000 payment to a subcontractor and it's holding up $500,000 to $1 million for your actual pay estimate. So to try to, put some logic back into that, this EDSM was created that says, look, we are going to utilize a change order to counteract the holding the estimate process. So what we're doing now is if there's a prompt payment complaint that's received, compliance will do an investigation. So what they are looking for is, is that an approved subcontractor? Has the work been performed? Is it on a pay estimate? And then has the prime contractor actually been paid for that pay estimate? They verify all that. And if it's past the 30 days that you have to pay the subcontractor, then they say, yes, this is a valid prompt payment complaint. They will send a memo to us at headquarters, the project engineer, and the prime contractor to let everybody know, hey, we've got to do a change order for whatever the amount is of that prompt payment complaint. We will do the change order, or the PE will do the change order to withhold that amount of money, but the estimate will still move forward, each estimate thereafter, but the 100% of the prompt payment complaint will be held. This is different from the lien process, where the lien process is an actual legal document that a sub, supplier, vendor, whomever files against the contractor's payment bond in the courthouse that the contract was signed in. So wherever that's recorded at, they'll file an actual legal process. That is separate from this prompt payment complaint. If an actual lien is filed, we do not do a change order, or if we already have a change order that was created for a prompt payment complaint, but then subsequently, subcontractor files an actual lien, we will give back the change order amount, because that lien is a legal document that we have to follow all, state laws and things like that. That actually withholds 125% of the money in question. So that's kind of the difference. The legal document we don't control, talking about headquarters construction or even the PE. That's done through legal and the financial services side. They withhold that 125%. But if it's not a lien, if it's just a regular prompt payment complaint, that's what's investigated by compliance. And again, if there's subsequently something filed, we'll give that money back on the change order itself. Looked like a bunch of chats came in, so I don't know if that's, pull that up, see where we're at.
We had a question about about the TC and if they're not responsive. Let's see. Basically, if the TC is not doing what they're supposed to do, we need to escalate that up the appropriate chain to the contractor's hierarchy and make sure management's aware. make sure that we're communicating with everyone involved.
All right. So that generally goes over the prompt payment side. Again, hopefully most of y'all don't have to worry with that. But if you do, or if you have questions, we're certainly here to, try to help with that. Compliance is the one that still handles the investigative side of that. So if there is some questions with that, we can certainly work with compliance as far as the investigative side, is this a valid prompt payment complaint, things like that. But that is part of the contractual requirements per the Code of Federal Regulations. That's in most of our contracts if it has federal funding.
All right. Thank you, Matt. That covers all of our topics that we had on our agenda. And I think we've answered just about everything in the chat. So we're going to open the floor up for questions. We're at about halfway mark through our program. So it's your turn, guys. What do you want to talk about?
Or if y'all have topics maybe for next month, make sure to send those to us. Again, contractors, consultants, y'all are welcome to also send in topics for clarification, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we definitely want to encourage everyone to participate. If you do not feel comfortable talking in front of everyone or bringing it up in front of everyone, of course, reach out to us prior to this and we'll get it put into the agenda and talk about it. I would encourage, though, healthy conversation where everyone can hear it and participate.
So looks like we got a question about is markup on bond compensable. Yes, it is. If you look at 10904 where it kind of talks about the force account stuff, it says, basically you can have, this 15% markup on all items described from, the 1090431 to 34, and 34 happens to be bond, insurance, and tax. So yes, that is allowable in the specifications. They are allowed, that 15% markup on bond.
That is correct.
There, however, is not a markup on your OCP insurance. That is separate. It's a separate section, and I think specifically says there is no markup allowed on OCP insurance.
Drastic changes in the construction progress. There's a question about any drastic changes in the construction process. We do not anticipate that. Like I said, we met with the chief engineer yesterday who had just come from a meeting with the executive staff, and there were no plans as far as anyone told us about any drastic changes. No changes to the initiatives currently we're working on. And as we process these changes from the legislature, we'll put together an implementation plan. But once that makes it through the approval process, so it's not, nothing's been changed, nothing's been derailed at this point. We're to proceed as we always have. So no drastic changes. There's a question about work zone.
Brian, if you want me, I can elaborate.
Sure. Jump in.
Yeah, so the main, as far as, we have a reorg happening that's underway within DOTD. And we have an initiative to look into construction ID IQ contracts. Those two topics are probably more progressed than any of the other initiatives at this point. They haven't been implemented yet. I think the reorg is still back and forth with civil service and HR, and construction ID IQ contracts are just being developed and hopefully will be in pilot, not in short order. The legislation some of it's been signed, some of it hadn't been signed. So all what you have been hearing about legislation is still up in the air, and we'll get further direction as they come to fruition as to if they're going to be executed and how they will be executed. So there's more to come on that because they had some significant changes. We're still researching. They had one that kind of slipped under the wire that I didn't realize was an increase. Well, it was in the bill, but we're still researching if it got all the way through. But there was an initiative to increase the penalties on utility companies if they don't relocate in a timely manner. So that's one. There's multiple others, but I think we can probably shelf that for now until we find get a more summarized list of topics we can discuss in this forum later on once we have it all quantified. So I didn't know exactly where the question was asking about a specific part of that reorganization or effective and efficiency measures, but that's what we know today.
Thank you for that update, Mike. So we did have a question about work zone. I saw work zone gets a 10% markup. What about railroad flaggers? Work zone police. There's no markup on railroad flaggers.
No, there's no markup on railroad flaggers. That's something I've looked up recently, and we changed there's a provision for the work zone police, but the railroad flaggers do not get a markup still.
All right. Something we were talking about before we got on the call is we put together multiple change order templates, and we haven't completed that initiative, and we were kind of talking about what's the next step, which are the next ones that you guys would like to see us work on or put out there. So I'm gonna make that request to everyone, and if there's any change order templates that you would like to see more than others or completed first, send us those, and we'll expedite those and get them out to everybody. Sarah, I think you had an example of one that was requested.
Yes, I have a example. Are we talking about the spreadsheet?
No, for change order templates, we were talking earlier. Anyway, the point is,
Yeah.
send in any requests that you have, and we're going to get those out as soon as we can.
Yeah, we're working on the partial acceptance. It's just partial acceptance should be done soon.
Yep. Thank you. Seems like the RFCO process is working really well. Looks like they're coming through, getting to me and getting approved within a day or two. And we're seeing those subsequently attached to the change orders, and in turn, those category 1 change orders are getting approved much more quickly now. The information is all there when we get it, and just really appreciate the effort, guys. It seems to be working really great. If you have any suggestions on how we could make that any better or speed that process up, let us know. We've had 2 summer conferences recently. We went and spoke to LAPA and LCA. Had really great conferences. And then next week, I think we start Saturday, we have the AGC conference, where our new secretary and our staff will be going over to speak to them. So we'll bring updates after the AGC conference of what we talked about and what questions we're asking. We'll bring that to the next webinar as well.
Also, y'all start looking, for dates, hopefully in October. We are planning on coming out in person, the way we've been doing the last couple of years.
Yep.
Coming out and talking to each district specifically. Contractors are certainly invited to come to that as well. Consultants will be going, around the state to each district, talking, directly to y'all in person. So if there's specific things with your district that you want addressed or brought up, go ahead and start, sending those topics in as well for October, because of course it will be here sooner than we anticipate.
Absolutely. And that brings up another topic we've been discussing, which is training. So we've been talking about doing some claims analysis training, change order analysis, and just some run-of-the-mill, contract administration training. So if you would, if you have a certain topic or an issue you would like to see as part of that, send us an email and let us know. We'll be putting that together. And much like going out in the fall and doing these roundups, we'll be putting a few teams together and going out and kind of hitting all the groups, putting together some standardized training. So let us know what you'd like to see, whether that's schedule review, claims analysis, whatever it is that's the need there. And I'd like to get some feedback from the contractors as well. So let us know what we can work on, what we can make better. We do have a new software package that we're working on getting implemented right now. It's called Smart PM, and it'll be a new way that we're going to be managing. Hopefully, if we get it implemented and get the funding, that's how we're going to manage all of our schedules. Not ready to reveal it at this point, but it'll be coming soon. And I think it's going to be that next step that we've been looking for consistent across the state management and application of our schedules, where everything will be put into that database and managed by one group. And then the project engineer will have a lot of dashboard and reports they can run against that software, where everyone will be playing in the same sandbox. Really looking forward to this. I can't wait to show it to you guys. What about questions? Next questions.
So Elazar asks, will the pre-con checklist be updated soon?
Absolutely. Aaron, are you volunteering to help us?
So we did actually make some modifications to it, maybe last summer or summer before. We just never sent it out. It wasn't major changes. It was just strictly the Word document we created that it could be accordioned up so that you don't have, 42 pages of a pre-con checklist. If a section does not apply, you could just simply minimize that and it shortens that section up. So we did complete that because we had some student workers work on that, but it was just a formatting change, not necessarily the actual verbiage or anything like that, to be more consistent with the purple book or any of that other stuff. That those changes have not been made. So yes, there's still the actual guts of the thing that need to be updated as well.
Yeah, and our partners with Garver and Rollin are also looking at all of our manuals and forms, our contract administration manual. And I've sent out an email to about 10 of our peer states. It's a questionnaire form, and it asks them specific questions about their processes and certain things that we wanted to dig into. So we're going to be getting feedback from those states and looking at implementing some of the best practices across other states as well. So we're going to continue this transformation initiative and open things up. And again, we'd like to get you guys involved and participate. If there's something you want to know or want to work on, or you think that we can do, please reach out to us. There was a question about the new schedule software. Yeah, it handles all schedules. We were in the process of getting all that set up with Garver when the changes in our executive staff were made last week. So we're waiting to get some feedback on where we stand on that, but hopefully we can move that forward.
So I'd like to throw out a couple things. Working on piloting automated flaggers on a few projects across the state. We have kind of like a draft drawing of what we're looking for and some high-level stuff of what we want to coordinate with the contractor if we do consider using automated flaggers on a project. So if you have a project you think may warrant the use of automated flaggers, let us know and we'll work with you to get that going. We also have been notified that the DBE process is likely going to be changing by the end of the year to make it a little easier for contractors to navigate. I don't want to go into too many details. Compliance will be reaching out later once they kind of formulate exactly what they want to say and communicate. But I'm kind of looking forward to the changes. I think a lot of people will view it positively. Some other states are using what they're talking about, and they've been using it for a while, and it seems to be successful. And lastly, I just want to throw out that the fiscal year is ending at the end of June. So there's going to be delays associated with payments. If you want to try to get payments in, do it ASAP because it's really targeted towards middle of June through the middle of July to transition. So that's something that I guess everybody should be aware of that's coming.
All right. Thank you, Dallas. Any other questions? We still got plenty of time, guys. Let's see. While we're waiting for questions, do we have any e-construction updates?
I can give a quick update. So we have recently signed off on the funding stuff that HeadLight has been working on so that we can move to pilot phase. This coming Monday, we have a meeting set up for those in the initial part of the pilot. We've selected 2 projects to move forward on. And then we'll also have Dallas's group from the estimate team in that meeting as well, just to kind of go over what to expect and, what is going to happen with the pilot. HeadLight will be leading that up for us on Monday. So something to look forward to there. I saw Patrick come on too. Patrick, do you have anything?
Just we're refining the process for the digital stationing and then some of those other features through Hall Hub as well. Looking at ways to basically get their enterprise package in place. The other is we're found a little kind of loophole through not really a loophole, an opportunity through research, I guess. Confirm I'm speaking language. That's weird. Sorry, something popped up. But we found an opportunity through research where we may have some additional funding to try out new technologies. So if anyone has any new technology they've seen or new technology they want to test, from the project side or from the consulting or the contract community, any type of new technology like that you think would be beneficial across the state, we're more than happy to put it on the list. And if funding's available, we could see about getting a pilot study set up or a demonstration study set up through that additional funding and essentially run an evaluation on it.
Patrick, can you talk about what Hall Hub's doing with work zones briefly?
Yeah, we've discussed in this forum numerous times the safety or work zone data safety feed that they are broadcasting. So basically, anyone that is using the Hall Hub application on the project staff has an option to set up a work zone segment where you can basically snap it onto the existing connected equipment local to that work zone that fires on. It toggles that work zone on showing that workers are present. And that message gets broadcast to Waze and to WXDZ. And they're also now starting to sync with DriveWise. So they're going to start deploying that to commercial fleets. And they're looking at getting into the other driving applications as well. So all this is doing is just adding that additional layer of safety to your work zone, especially when personnel are present.
All right. Thank you for the update.
I guess I would just reiterate that this is kind of like cutting edge across the country. Like what Patrick's doing is pretty awesome, and really what Hall Hub is doing. This is something that not a lot of states have tapped into. They've done different ways to communicate to the public, but this is something that's automated and more foolproof. So it's pretty exciting.
I know a few contractors were starting to play with some of the automated flaggers, and that's one thing that they're looking at getting a data feed from, so that basically when you have it set up, it shows on the map, so drivers are aware. But there's a stopping point at the work zone. Any information we can broadcast about the work zone is immensely helpful.
Great. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Can y'all see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. So just want to go through this real quick. You click on forms for this progress project update, and you choose it from the form project progress update. And here you can name it. So you can name it like the estimate date or June 2025, and then you just create the form, fill out the form. And again, I'm going to be sending this out, a little tutorial out to everyone. But this is basically what it looks like. I just wanted to show y'all. You're going to select the month and the year, put any notes you want to add in here, and considering these topics of, that I read earlier about any delays, impacts to the project, and that's pretty much it. Save the form, and it'll show up in your form list, and then this information will be pulled from HeadLight into our project viewer. Again, we'd like all the project engineers to start doing this over the next couple of weeks, and it will be mandated July 1 for all projects. Again, I'll be sending out an email that explains all this, and a little form update from HeadLight, an example of the form, and then this nice little sheet they put together on how to, as well as a video. This is the example of Smart PM. If y'all can still see my screen, basically all the schedules will be imported into the software, and the executive staff, the project staff, everyone will be able to pull the project up, see all of the plan versus actual, all of your progress on the project, everything we want to know. It even gives a project health, a schedule health. It grades the schedule. It's a great software tool. I can't wait to show it to everyone. So that's all I had. Looks like we've got about 10 minutes left.
I got an e-ticketing question.
Yeah.
I got a local contractor, Asphalt, said he just heard about it the other day. I've talked to Matt and Patrick and Dallas about it. What do we do if he doesn't get on e-ticketing? Like, I know eventually it's going to be mandatory. I mean, it's in the contract, but
it is mandatory.
He's looking at $200,000, close to $200,000 to get everything outfitted, he's saying, and just doesn't want to spend that kind of money. So, I mean, do we just not do the projects with him, or he can't bid anymore? I mean, what do we?
Patrick, I'll let you chime in here.
Have they gotten in touch with Paul Hub? Paul Hub has different options where a lot of times they can just piggyback off of their existing batching system. But if that's something that needs to be upgraded, we've been talking about this. We've been broadcasting to industry and community. So for them to say it's a surprise.
And it may be the plant may be one thing, but he's looking at his trucks too. I don't know if he's looking at putting GPS and anything in his trucks.
None of that needs to happen for e-ticketing.
And that may be what he's looking at. Just the plant has to be the e-ticketing.
Yep.
So I know a lot of the contractors already have the trucks set up, and we're able to see the truck moving, and it looks like on the haul hub. But all right, I'll talk to him about that then. He may be misinformed or confused.
No, all that's mandatory right now is the badge ticket generated at the plant gets sent digitally instead of via paper.
Okay.
All the fleet management and all these other bonuses that some of these try and sell you is not required by the state.
Okay.
Only the ticketing process.
Great question. Thank you, Matt. All right, guys, we've got a few minutes left. I know you have a question. You're just dying to ask it. Let us have it. If you're thinking about it, somebody else is too.
I'll ask another one.
Yeah.
One of those things. I see Matt Jones already smirking. But talking about the pre-construction checklist, is there any way we could, like, I don't want to say dumb it down, but like I had one this week, and I talked to and I know you can't say this for all of them, but some of these contractors have been in business and heard the same thing over and over and over again. Some of the basics. I know there's stuff we have to touch on, but the TCS, the TCT requirements are 2 or 3 pages long. Some of the stuff is just the DBE. I sat in a pre-con and compliance did their spiel, and the prime was a DBE, been a DBE for a long time. They're very well informed of the whole process. But some of this, it's just like we repeat it every single pre-con. And I mean, this is not the first, it's not the 100th time they've heard it,
Yep.
And I know it may be legally, we have to cover all this stuff, but is there any way to kind of shorten some of that?
Yeah, we're looking at that, Matt. We definitely want to make it, an intelligent document.
Yeah.
We don't want to just say things for the sake of saying them.
Yeah. But I mean,
if we take the time to say it, we need to make sure that it's applicable and that it's important. And
right.
Yeah, we're reviewing that as part of our document and form review. If you have any suggestions,
I mean, if we some of that stuff we might be able to include in the contract. When they sign the contract, we used to do it on our employment applications. We'd ask about the nepotism and some of the questions during the interview, and they put that on the application. And it's the applicant, initials and signs and dates that he's read all that and answered it. But I don't know if we could do that with the contract. Put some of the basic stuff in there. I mean, there's still a lot in that 40-something page document we do need to talk about, but some of the basic stuff, it just, we spend a lot of time talking about the same thing over and over again, it seems like, in some of those. But new contractors, yes, I think some of that stuff we do need to go over multiple times. But, the ones that have been here in the business and in the state for a long time, they're very well versed on what we do and the changes. So.
There are certain things you certainly need to go over, who your suppliers are, where you're getting like that. But when you start getting into the standard spec stuff, I think you can probably just, as your checklist, hey, y'all are aware of, the 502 special, if there's a special provision, for your project specifically, you might want to go over that. If you're doing a pilot project, you've got the new CPM spec or something like that, go over those specifically. But if it's, just your normal standard stuff, all right, you're getting, you understand the compaction requirements. You understand that, like, just bounce off of those real quick. You don't have to go into full detail and read the specs to them, anything like that.
That's something where we can make the form dynamic too, Matt, like drop down arrows. And if we don't need to expand that section, if we're not doing that on the project, we can just keep it collapsed and run through it much quicker. It's a great idea. Yep, we'll work on it. Any suggestions you guys have, be glad to hear them on it. What else you got, Mr. Jantz? Keep them coming.
That's it for the day, I think.
I appreciate it.
5 minutes back.
Do what?
Did you want your 5 minutes back?
That's right.
So it looks like we got some takeaways from the meeting. I guess the AI has already summarized some of it. I'm going to send out the email instructions on the tutorial for the new project progress update form. We are going to be working on a standard detail for asphalt patching. Any feedback, of course, we'd love to hear from you guys. I saw some in the chat, but if you have something specific you want to talk about or get it in there, reach out to us and let us know. We can put together a little strike team and get this thing knocked out. Coordinate with contractors interested in piloting automated flaggers. Get with Dallas Balmer. Communicating updated changes on the DBE process with Dallas, and then provide update on the implementation of the new Smart PM software. That's at me. So you'll be seeing that in the near future, I hope. That's pretty much it. If you guys have anything else, reach out to us anytime. Appreciate all the participation. Does my staff, you guys have anything else before we jump off? Nope. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Appreciate y'all.